It's WarbossTae up in this mug. Welcome to my live stream. It is 7 a.m. here in sunny California as I get to work painting some Night Lords and finishing off these Death Guard. I'll put these in the back. I had a great time painting them up. They're Death Shroud Terminators for the Death Guard Legion. And I want to also finish painting up this Night Lord in the same color scheme as this guy. So I'm going to use him as my test model, or just as my, not test model, but as my reference point. I've got a whole squad of them here in the back. You might have seen I've been painting them up for the Great Crusade. And just to pump the Great Crusade again, if you are participating, or if you are thinking of participating, now's a great time to join the Great Crusade. Just head on over to the Discord and just grab all the minis you've got in your backlog, in your pile of shame, and get ready to paint them. This summer is going to be a great summer for painting miniatures. We're all doing as much as we can to paint all of our miniatures in our backlogs. We're doing it together as a global community. The goal is to have everybody in our community paint 5,000 miniatures by the end of August. We're already well over 1,000, and there's some great miniatures in the Discord that people have been posting, all sorts of scales and ranges and armies and games. So now is the time to do it, and we would love to have you join us. All right, what I'm doing now is I've got a Death Guard Praetor. My wonderful, beautiful daughter thought it would be great to break off the head of the axe, so I'm just re-gluing here. I like to use super glue, and whenever I'm working with resin, I'll super glue and then follow it with some Bob Smith Industries super glue accelerator. This is like my go-to, one of my most favorite products for working with in the hobby, and I absolutely love it. After you put some super glue down, and you just spray it once, and it sets in a matter of seconds. So if you're tired of like holding two pieces of resin or metal together and the super glue getting all over your fingertips and super gluing your fingertips together and cursing the world and shaking your fists at the heavens while it rains down on you, then it's time to get some super glue accelerator. And you can find these online. This is the super glue that I use. I think they come in a pack together. Yeah, Bob Smith Industries, hello. So Maxicure, it's a thick, heavy super glue, so it's not runny and wet. It will basically like set your pieces together, and then once you have the accelerator, it's like a no-brainer. It's perfect. So I got two Death Guard here. Now, my idea with this live stream, you guys, is I want to finish painting up this Night Lords. This is my reference miniature I'm going to use today. I want to do it, I want to paint everything from the insignia on the shoulder pads, the insignia on the knee pads, the lightning. I want to finish this model, and this is my reference. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a live painting tutorial. I was thinking of doing it as a separate video, like a long form video, but I think if I just do it during the live, then I can still get it done. If you're interested in supporting my studio, you could send me a super chat. In fact, we're going to do something fun today where I'm going to be painting and working on this guy, but at any point during the live stream, if I get a super chat, then I'm going to put him down and finish working on these Death Shroud Terminators. In fact, all I really need to do, because I've finished painting up the Terminators themselves, I wanted to have some really cool looking miniatures to show you guys while I'm working. So they're not like half done. They're like pretty much completed. But what I need to do now is finish the basing. So I'm going to do them as like some gray rock, standing on some gray rock, and then I'll glue some basing material to the actual base itself. Then I'll paint the black rims. So if at any point I get a super chat, I'm going to put down the Night Lords and pick up a Death Guard Terminator and start working on the base. If you want to support my studio in that way, you could do that. You could also join, become a channel member, and gain access to all sorts of free downloads and get access to the different long form videos that I'm going to be doing a week early before they go public. But basically just watching here, being here, you guys, getting your eyes on my video and writing a comment, hitting the like button, subscribing to my channel. All of that is supporting my channel. So let's keep our Death Guard here in view as we get going. I think it's going to be a fun one. This is going to be a fun stream today. I got some Death Guard Praetors, and when I'm done working on the Death Shroud, maybe I can get to 1 or 2 of those. We'll just have them hanging out, looking ominously as we get going with our Night Lords here. So let's get going with this live tutorial. And if you send me a super chat, or if you send me a comment rather, I will try to follow along. Get my settings right. Oh, okay. Heidi Wood. Hello, cool toys. Thank you. Can you please make the toys in Spanish? I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know how to do that. There might be some kind of like AI filter to adjust the language to Spanish, but as of this point, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that. Okay, let me get my setup all squared away. I'm still recording off of my Lady Boss's iPad, so it's unfortunately set up and propped at a strange position. I hope it can catch everything I'm doing. I'm working with my favorite product in the Games Workshop range. It's their painting handle. I say that with a little sarcasm because one of my most popular videos is how I'm dogging on it for not accommodating Terminator-sized miniatures, but they're absolutely fine for using on like smaller infantry miniatures. Like, I know how to use it, guys. Everybody who wrote me comments on like me being an idiot for not knowing how to use a painting handle, I know how it works. I'm just saying it's not optimally designed for painting with like a Terminator-sized base. Okay, where are my brushes? Always have your tools ready to go, folks. Okay, so I've got a pretty good sized brush. I've been using a set of these. They're like Vallejo Precision, not Precision, I think that's the size. Vallejo synthetic brushes, and they come in a pack of 3 for like 10 bucks. And I've been really happy with them. You get one, this is like the workhorse brush that you can use for most anything. I've got, they come with one of these like smaller, really fine detail brushes for doing like eyeballs and stuff. And Death Guard up here. And then I think there's a larger brush, if I can find it, for doing like base work and bigger things. All right. So after you prime your miniature, the first color you're going to be using is Night Lord's Blue. I prime my miniature usually in gray, but I decided to prime my Night Lords in black. They made more sense because having all the shadows and everything be there. You're going to have 2 colors that you use with your Night Lords. It's, Cantor Blue is going to be the highlight, but for the base coat, we're going to be using Night Lord's Blue. I like to use a wet palette. My wet palette is currently dry, so what I'm going to do is quickly run to the sink, and I'm going to put some water in the bottom, then put the sponge back down. That's going to soak and absorb the water, and then I'll be able to lift up the parchment paper that's on top and lay it back down to soak and absorb. So sit tight, folks. I'll be right back. If you're going to be painting along, if you've got some Night Lords that you're going to be working on, then remember, grab your Night Lord's Blue and Cantor Blue. Those are the first 2 paints we're going to be using as a base coat and a highlight. And I hope you're having a great morning. Also grab some coffee, you know, do whatever, chill. We're hanging out, we're painting, we're having a good time. I wanted to get this painting live stream done last night with my new phone screen, but it just didn't work out. So we're getting it done this morning, nice and bright and early. I love to use a wet palette. It really helps. Back in the day, back in my day, Games Workshop used to sell single miniatures. Like if you wanted to buy a character miniature, they still kind of do it. They sell them in clamshell packs, like plastic single packs. They're large now because all of their miniatures are like in plastic, so you got to build them in the sprues and stuff. But back in my day, Games Workshop used to sell like small plastic figures or metal figures in plastic clamshells, and so you would be able to buy them, and you would usually throw away the packaging. But I discovered that if you keep the packaging, you could use the clamshell as a wet palette. You would just flip it over and fill the bottom with water, then take the sponge that comes in the packet itself and use that as the sponge for putting down some paper. Like I didn't even have parchment paper back in the day. I was a starving college student, and I wanted to just use a fancy wet palette. I didn't want to go to the art store and pay like $30. So I just had these clamshell packs, and I thought, well, why don't I just use this? It comes with a sponge already. And then put the paper towel on top. They always say use a wet palette to thin your paints because you never want to paint straight from the pot. And by they, I mean me. I always say that. You never want to paint from the pot. And for a beginner tip, most veterans, most veterans or people, if you've been painting for a while, you're going to hear me repeating a lot of beginner tips, because my streams and my channel is geared, not mostly, but it's geared a lot towards new players and new painters and people who just want to learn some really good, strong, basic foundation tips for painting miniatures. And one of my best tips is to paint using thin coats of paint from your wet palette. Like thin down the paint as much as you can. Not as much as you can, because you don't want it to look like water. You want the consistency to be, when people always ask like what kind of consistency should the paint be, then I like to tell them your paint on your brush should be like the consistency of like a cream, heavy cream. So it shouldn't be completely water and translucent, but it also shouldn't be like solid, like paint coming out of the pot. It should flow and be able to be manipulated and moved. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the left shoulder pad and the left knee pad black. We're also gonna try to leave the bolter casing in black as well. I mentioned this earlier, but if at any time you want to switch it up, and if you want me to start painting some Death Guard, either the Praetors or the Death Shroud bases in the back here, then when you leave a super chat, let me know Praetor or Death Shroud, and then I'll put this guy down. We'll get a little change of scenery. But if you're cool just watching me paint this Night Lord, then of course, just keep doing that. Keep hanging out, keep painting up this Night Lord. Let me see if I can adjust the lighting for a second. This is so difficult using an iPad to paint with. I have my whole usual setup in front of the table, but now I'm having to like lean this iPad. Maybe I can get something more solid. I've been using this. Here, maybe this tin will hold the iPad in place. Okay, there we go. That's pretty cool. That seems to work. That's solid. Okay, Tingus, you inspired me to make a larger Chaos Warband that is more varied. Cool, awesome. I'm having to peek over. Hey, what's up? Can paint 40K? What army is that from? If you answer questions on stream, are you a sculptor? Okay, I'm not a sculptor. I'm painting Mostly armies. Nick the Salamander, hey, what's up? What army is this? So this is Night Lords. I'm going to be painting it as Night Lords. They're from this box of Mark III Iron Armor Space Marines, which you can pick up right now. It's available. Games Workshop sells it for their Horus Heresy game. I painted 10 of them as Iron Warriors. That's this silver color scheme with black and yellow hazard stripes. And I painted half of them as Night Lords. If you're new to the game or you're just getting into Warhammer 40k, both of these armies are canonically known as bad guys. They're bad dudes that betrayed the good guys and became evil in the game's lore and history. And I wanted to paint them as being part of the army back before they betrayed the good guys. So back when all these Space Marines were fighting together to expand the Imperium of Man across the stars, then all of these armies were fighting together. They were all quote unquote brothers, right? And so I wanted to paint them as being from that time, right about when they were about to betray the empire of humankind and turn to the dark side of chaos. And that has always interested me, turning good guys or like painting the bad guys back when they were good. So you got your Iron Warriors and your Night Lords. I painted all except one, which I wanted to do in a painting tutorial, but I thought it might be even more fun to just do it as a live stream. So here we go. We've got 13 viewers, and thank you, Tingus, for being a channel member. You can tell my channel members are because they're going to leave in their comments like a little, there's going to be an insignia, a badge next to their name. Oh, cool. I was gifted a shoebox of old Death Guard. Lots of daddy issues. Yeah, for real. Possibly 30k or Horus Heresy if you're interested. I am totally interested. If anybody ever wants to send me any Horus Heresy, anything, any Games Workshop, anything, I would love to. I would gratefully accept it. Like that would be so cool. I would love to add it to my collection or to paint it up and show it on stream so you can see all of your poor forgotten miniatures that you don't want. I would love to have it. So reach out to me, WarbossTae Studios, all one word, at gmail.com. And I'll arrange with you how to get that sent to me. That would be so cool. Or here's another idea. You could paint it up yourself, because what I'm going to be doing is showing how to paint Death Guard. And I'm planning on doing more Death Guard videos. I've got a whole box of Forge World Death Guard miniatures that I got last year, and I'm it's one of those things where, you know, when you get something as like an impulse buy and you want to paint it, you get it, it comes in the mail, and you're like, oh cool, yeah, I forgot I got this like box of Death Guard, Grave Wardens and Death Shroud. And so this Death Shroud unit that I painted up was actually my first foray into the box. The box of the Pile of Shame, and I wanted to do them again back when they were good, so they're not all gross and mutated. They still look like they could be good guys, and I painted them up. I was so happy with how they turned out, and right as I was about to work on the basing and finish this unit off and put them up on eBay, my beautiful, wonderful daughter decided that it would be fun to open the little container that I keep them in. I keep all my finished like models almost ready to go. I keep them in these containers, and she found it, and she decided that they would look better without these sights. And so she tore all of them off, except for I think one of them she decided she would leave intact so that he could go back to his friends and tell them what happened. But the rest, yeah, I had to reconstruct, re-glue with Bob Smith Industries super glue accelerator. It was like a horror show. You guys ever watch like in a horror movie where they open the door and they see the body parts strewn all over the floor? That's kind of what this experience was for me. I came back to my table and all of the bits and pieces were lying on the ground, and I did that thing where you slap your face and you scream, oh my gosh. It took me like not even that long to fix it, but I think it was the mental strain of seeing all of these miniatures like ripped up and just strewn about the ground that I think made me not want to deal with them. So like this happened a month ago, And I was like, okay, it's just sit down and glue them back together. But painting them took so long for me that I wanted to not even deal with them. But we're back on track, and I want to finish them tonight. So while I'm working on this Night Lord painting tutorial, anytime I receive a super chat, I'm going to put him down, pick up my Death Shroud Terminators here, and work on their basing to try to finish them up. Or if you want me to work on some Death Guard Praetors, I've got a regular Praetor here. And it's funny because when I bought this lot of Death Guard stuff, I didn't know that they came with these Praetors. Not that they came with them, but the Death Guard had Praetors like that look like this. I thought they were like really cool. So this one has like the Imperial wings, which is like a sign of the Imperium of Man, the Raptor head, and the wings with the double-headed eagle are like the signs of the good guys in Warhammer 40k. Ah, controversial, right? There's no good guys in 40k. So, but I like to think of the Imperium as the good guys because they're human. And this is the other Praetor here. So anytime you want me to pick one of these up and do a little bit of work on them, just send me a super chat, and I will get working on those. And this is just a sneak peek. I want to prime these guys up and get them ready to paint soon. There are some Grave Wardens. They look so cool. And they've got little mutations popping out their back. They look like little coral formations ripping through their armor, because this is already when they started turning evil and getting all gross looking. But I like to paint them back when they're still looking. They were always stinky, but at least now they're looking not so gross. Let's clear the stage a little bit so that we can see our Night Lord here. I go off on tangents a lot, guys. I'm sorry. It's like, I figure it's fun if you're just doom scrolling through the live streams and you happen upon my channel, then it might be cool to just hear a little bit of a ramble. All right, I gotta go back up on the chats. Holy cow, I missed a lot of stuff. Lots of daddy issues. Member looks like me. Yeah, that's right. Thing is, if you're a channel member, you're gonna have a green font on your name and a cool looking badge. Isn't this an expensive hobby? Oh, it's the most expensive hobby, bro. It is super. Yeah, everyone's saying super expensive, but there are cheaper alternative games which are similar. Yep. Firefight by Mantic. Mantic Games came out with a line of miniatures and a game that I think when it first came out felt like it was just tacked on to sell the minis that were like alternative miniatures for Games Workshop stuff. Similar scale, different dice used. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. The Firefight minis are way similar. Yep. Hi, mate. I just started my second box of minis and I'm loving it. Any tip to becoming better? Yeah, for everybody, what I say, get yourself a wet palette. Either make one yourself using a plastic clamshell or like a plastic container. You could use like a Tupperware container and a sponge, and fill the bottom with water. Then put the sponge on top, and then the sponge is going to absorb the water and hold it, while your parchment paper, this is the magic stuff right here. You could use any old kitchen parchment paper, lay it on top, and then the water is going to soak through the sponge, wet the parchment paper, and this is what you're going to use. Don't ever paint like straight from the pot. It's going to go on hot, like thick and gloopy. It's going to dry and mess up all of your good details. It's funny, I always get like comments, people saying, thin your paints are too thick, thin your paints. And I do thin my paints, but I think maybe I do apply a little too thick. You want to use 2 thin coats, as Duncan Rhodes famously says. Sometimes I do mess that part up though. If I'm like in a rush or I just want to get going, I might just do one thicker coat. But yeah, to get better at painting, basically just paint all the time, or not all the time, but like the better you want to get at painting, watch YouTube videos like my stuff, and just paint. You join a good community like my Discord. Click the link in my description to get to my Discord and join a good community of people that are going to inspire and motivate you and encourage you to paint. It's the best way to do it. Okay, there are comparative to models from like 4 years ago. Which kit did the sides come from? They came from a Forge World kit called the Death Shroud Terminators. So this is what they look like. They're all resin, and They're pretty fun to work with, but yeah, if you do have any small children or animals around that like to bite and rip things, then possibly keep them better secured than I did. The goodest guys in 40K remain the Necrons. Oh yeah, they're just trying to kill gods and get rid of space elves. It just so happens that they look evil, and they're like murder robots. But they are, yeah. If you look at it a certain way, I guess all armies are good to like the people that play them. Like you can justify all armies being good, but yeah, Necrons are. There is a good argument for them. Yeah, Warpath. That's what how it was called. It's now called Firefight. Okay, and the game is great. Squad combat. Wet palette is a game changer. Helps with thinning paints so much. Yep. It's one of those things where if you don't use it, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But once you start using it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. I see. I understand. All right, we're gonna move on to our highlight paint. I think our Night Lord's blue has gotten enough time to dry. So we're going to the Cantor Blue. Also, if you want to just send a super chat just to be cool and not have me go over to the Death Guard, that's an option too. What I was thinking of doing is taking out a bunch of different miniatures. That's why I've got this dice hanging out. I was going to get a bunch of different miniatures and put them in the back and say like, okay, if I get a super chat, I'm going to roll the dice and whatever mini I land on, I'm going to paint for 5 minutes. And that didn't happen because I just want to get this Night Lord painted. So I'm going to be doing a dry brush technique for this, which basically means I'm going to start at the top. Also, the stuff that I tell you guys to do, not to do, but the stuff that I'm doing, there are many different ways to paint. There's no like set best way to paint, no matter what the YouTube Warhammer gurus tell you. There's only your way, right? There's the way that helps you get the minis painted the fastest. So I'm going to try to share with you the different techniques that I use. And even the techniques that I use, like painting miniatures is like those old kung fu movies where everybody's got their own school, their own dojo, their own style. And no two styles need to be the same. In fact, it's better that they're all kind of different. So my dry brushing technique is I'll get a bunch of paint on my brush, and they won't be too heavy, but I'm not also doing like a completely dry brush. What I'm doing is I'm starting from where the light is naturally hitting the miniature, and I'm just flicking the paint on, almost like stabbing the paint on in a downward motion. So this means that a lot of the darker paint stays dark in the recesses. If you turn the model upside down, you're going to see mostly darker paint because those are the shadows. But if you're looking at it from the top down, then you're going to be seeing most of that lighter paint. It's okay if it looks a little too light. Like the Night Lords are known for being really dark blue, evil looking, and we're gonna do that with the shades and the washes in a minute. But for now, we're just putting that highlight paint on to give us some contrast. So you should still have black shoulder pad, black knee pad, and black bolter. If it's not, then don't worry about it. My second best tip for painting, if I can find it, is go to Walmart or Target or any arts and crafts store and pick up one of these bad boys. It's like a $3 tube of black paint. And that's because, I say this all the time, but this $3 tube has way more than this $7 boutique bespoke Games Workshop Abaddon Black. This pot of paint cost me like $7, $6.99 for this tiny little thing of paint. Now, if I'm painting bright highlights, a $7 Runefang steel is like, okay, I can see why you would get that. Or if I'm using their washes or whatever, and I haven't moved over to oils and enamel paints, like a $8 or $9 thing now, they're so expensive. Of known oil might be what I want to invest in, but I'm not going to spend $7 for Abaddon Black when I can spend $3 for this, and look at how much more you get. I keep singing the praises of this, and this might be the reason why Games Workshop never sends me miniatures to preview or to look at early, because I'm always like, everybody says, oh, you're a shill for Games Workshop. Bro, no, I'm not. I'm a shill for people wanting to do this hobby like on realistic, livable budget and learn the best way to do it. So black paint is always black paint, unless you start getting like lighter black paint, like Corvus black, or I don't even know what the other weird Games Workshop black alternative paints, but a pure straight black paint should always look the same, no matter what company makes it. So a $3 giant tube of black paint is going to look the same on your model as your Abaddon black. That's basically all I'm saying, okay? So now what you want to do is take your brush and clean up areas that you want to remain black, like on the bolter here. If you got any of that blue paint on the knee pad, I feel like if I was using my using the clamp from my iPhone, this would be a lot easier. So I'm sorry for it taking a little bit longer than it usually does. Now with these Horus Heresy Iron Armor guys, one of the things I love about them is the detail in the sculpt. And by that, I mean, they took the time to model placements for these like wires. So when you look at your model, look at their legs and look at by their knees joints. You're also gonna find little places where their armor separates, and you can see the black undersuit, their under armor, their bibbities, their underwear. So I like to paint that in black as well. They've got this grill on their butt plate and on the back of their legs. I like to paint those in silver, so we'll leave that for now. They also have wiring on their backpack, so I like to paint that in black. And I'm gonna leave these turbines on the sides of their backpack. I'm gonna leave that black for now because they're eventually gonna be silver. So we don't need to touch them now. If you got any blue paint on it, don't worry, just leave it. Then I'm gonna check to make sure there's no blue paint on my shoulder pads. The back of the bolter casing looks good. Okay. At this point, we're going to add the silver. Now you could shade your model now, shade the blue armor, darken it down, make it look more like a Night Lord's armor, but we're gonna actually save that till after this silver lead belcher paint is down, because then the lead belcher paint is gonna get that black wash on it as well, and that is good. That's gonna help us out. Now, lead belcher is one of those paints that I was talking about that it's worth it, I think. There are some other various alternatives to lead belcher. In fact, you know, before I do this, let me just scroll up in the chat to see if anybody wrote anything. I don't see any super chats, so I don't have to worry about switching it up. Forge World stuff. 30K, yes, 30K. Ave Dominus Nox. All right. Easy, easy. Here we go. So usually what I like to do when you're using a new paint, especially a thick paint like lead belcher, is I like to start not on the trim or the fine areas where you might have too much paint loaded on your brush like I do, but I like to start with the areas that are more predominantly silver to get some of that paint off of my brush so that I can use it to paint the smaller detailed silver parts. So we're going to be painting the bayonet, and here what I like to call the metal bits, the silver bits. But what's interesting about painting any Space Marine army is a lot of them have their own way of painting. Sorry, I might have to get out of focus to reach all of these areas. Like all of the armies have different ways of painting certain things. So like your bolter casing, if you're painting Dark Angels in 40K, Warhammer 40K now, they have red bolters usually. So you're painting their gun differently than you would paint another army's bolters. Yeah, if you're just doom scrolling and you happen to come across my channel, hello, I'm WarbossTae. I have been painting miniatures on YouTube for longer than you're alive if you're a freshman in high school. for 15 years now. I was there when I was there in the ancient times, posting videos beside blue table painting, mini wargaming, Beasts of War, Templars Crusade '01. Who else can you guys remember from the good old days? Van Hammer, girl painting, the infamous Joey Berry, War Game Consortium. Those are all the big ones, right? There was a guy, I can't remember his name. He did like a lot of tactic videos. I loved watching him. Da 40K Orcs. Malorian, that's his name. Malorian, Mr. Malorian. He wasn't the Eldar guy. There's an Eldar guy that did like a lot of Fritz. Is that him? Fritz 40K? Jeezy Pete's. Going down a bumpy road called Memory Lane. Those were the legends. And then I had legends in my own community. People that posted a lot. Nick from Idic Beer, still posting all the time. Then all the legends in my community like Jam Jar. This is such a small community. It's not small, but like it's a niche community. Once you find your people, your tribe, especially on YouTube, then it's like, oh, I found other people that enjoy this hobby that I can't really talk to anybody about because it's so like niche. Although with like Henry Cavill and all the stuff happening with Amazon Prime, like hopefully Warhammer is being introduced to more people. I think a lot of people would dig Warhammer, like the different aspects of it, you know, not just the painting, the gaming, the lore. Like you could be into the lore of Horus Heresy or like the Night Lords and read the Night Lords books and never once pick up a model or pick up a paintbrush. Or conversely, you could be really into the game and want to play at like big time tournaments and do a lot of high level stuff, but never really be interested in painting. Especially the older we get and the less we want to like invest in this part of it. It's very time consuming. Painting miniatures is very time consuming. If you're new to this aspect of the hobby, if you want to do it well. Anyways, if you want to learn all the great techniques and stuff, you can spend a lot of time on YouTube learning from the masters. My goal is to just teach people how to paint quickly and at a high tabletop level. And I want you to be happy when you paint something and you follow one of my videos to do it. Like that would make me happy. If you look back, you sit back at the end of the day and you're like, that came out really well. I'm glad I watched WarbossTae to figure out how to do this thing. Okay, one part that I always forget to do, so I'm going to remind myself on video, are the elbow balls and the trim on their vambrances. Always want to get anything. What I like to make sure I do is paint all the details that if somebody was like, oh, that's a cool mini, and they pick up my model and they turn it around to look at it in the light, they're not going to be disappointed like, oh, this guy forgot to paint the trim on his vambrances. Dude, it's pronounced vambraces. I got to figure out how to say that word. Their forearm armor. Type in the chat, is it vambrance or vambrace? This is like my favorite part of painting a iron armor Space Marine. It's the shoulder pads because they just look so beefy and chunky. And when you're painting small details like the trim on the leg armor or on their arm armor, then painting these shoulder pads is like really fun. If you can get it, if you're using a painting handle and you can angle your miniature to reach it, then make sure you paint the inside and the underside of your shoulder pads. You don't want to miss those parts. Okay, we're almost at the point where we can start putting down some washes. Actually, we're gonna have to wait, I think, because we just laid down the silver paint. One of the virtues to learn as a painter in this hobby is patience. If you put down, like, if you just recently put down a coat and you're really raring to go to the next part, it's always good to be patient. And otherwise, you're going to be putting on the next layer of paint and you might mess up your whole paint job. If I put down a wash of known oil right now, some of that lead belcher could come off and get mixed up into the blue armor plates. Then you're going to have sparkly blue armor, and I don't want that. All right, this is a tricky part. This is where you're going to want just a little bit of paint on the tip of your brush. These little piping systems that come down the center of the back of the backpack, they're pretty difficult to reach. And so, okay, this is where I like to say, okay, try your best, but if you screw up, you get some of this lead belcher paint on the blue backpack, it's not the end of the world. But if you are able to get it, it's less work you have to do for the cleanup. This is like trying to land a plane at the end of the first level in Top Gun on the Nintendo. Pull up, pull up, pull up. There we go, finished. Okay, so like I was saying, if I screwed up, if I got some of that silver paint onto the backpack, then at this point, what you're gonna, magnifique, thank you. What you're gonna be doing is taking your armor color and you're gonna fix the mistake. Painting is all about fixing, guys. So at any point, if you're making a mistake, or if you think it's too, like lightning bolts. I always say this with my lightning bolts that I paint on my Night Lord's armor. If it's too thick, then all you have to do is go back and clean up the lines. You guys ever watch that old show, Barney and Friends, the dinosaur, Barney the dinosaur? They always used to have this song called Clean Up. And I like to think of that when I'm working on cleaning up these miniatures. So they don't have to be thick. The paint can go on pretty smoothly, and then you can just clean it up with your earlier paint. General Splatten, yeah. I got to go back and see what everybody wrote for the chat for all of these old school Warhammer channels. Do you know Nakatu? Yeah, Nataku, right? Wasn't it Nataku? Whatever happened to him? I think the last thing I heard from Nataku was that he was going through some issues. BTP, what happened to that channel? I read or I heard that Blue Table Painting went through some things and they had to downscale, and that Sean is still making videos, but the whole format changed and he doesn't get many views now. I gotta look into the history of that as well, if there's like anyone's compiled the sordid rise and fall of Blue Table Painting, because I used to watch that channel all the time, man. More DACA. Van Hammer 73. Oh yeah. Yo, Gabriel. Dr. Faust Painting Clinic. Yep, still going strong. I learned from Dr. Faust how to do Krakow desert bases. General Splatten was one of the first that I actually messaged General Splatten on how to go about doing a commission painting service. He was a very, very cool guy, and he taught me a lot about like pricing and setting it all up. So General Splatten is a huge influence for me. The Chaos Space Marine models look like Horus Heresy. Yep, they are Mark III iron armor. They come in a box of 20. I decided to do 10 as Night Lords and 10 as Iron Warriors. Azjara, yeah, I remember, I know the name. I don't remember exactly what kind of content he made. I'm actually into the lore. No idea. Magnifique. All right, players, at this point, I would say this is when I would do the rest of the box. Like, I like to assembly and batch paint. So if I'm going, I would do like the blue armor first and then the silver, clean up the blacks like I did with the black paint, and then do the silver. So I have to actually sign off for a little bit, but I will come back to painting him. So we'll check out the second half of the Night Lord's color scheme then. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. Don't forget to head over to the Discord, and we'll see you in the next live stream. Laters.